Imagine for a second that you are cutting a check for $4.3 million.
Yeah, that is a very big check.
Right. So you finally get the keys to your brand new estate in the heart of Silicon Valley. And you walk through the front door, and it's the middle of a massive July heat wave.
Oh, brutal.
Exactly. So you reach for the thermostat, only to realize there is no air conditioning, like none at all.
Just sweating it out in luxury.
Seriously. And then as you're standing there sweating in your multi-million-dollar living room, you suddenly remember that you also need to schedule maintenance for your 1950s septic tank.
Okay, yeah. That sounds like a really bad joke.
It does. But okay, let's unpack this, because that is the exact literal reality sitting in the data sets we're looking at
It
today.
really is. It's wild.
So today's deep dive is into a huge stack of raw real estate data. We are looking at the April 2026 Zillow and Redfin listings for just one single property, 425 Summit Springs Road.
Right, which is in Woodside, California.
Yes, Woodside. And if you, the listener, aren't familiar with Woodside, it's this ultra-exclusive enclave nestled right amongst, the biggest tech giants on the planet.
It's basically the epicenter of tech wealth.
Exactly. But we aren't doing this to take a virtual tour of the kitchen cabinets, right? We're going way past the glossy photos and the tranquil Woodside retreat marketing buzzwords.
Yeah, because we have cross-referenced two massive data sets for this deep dive.
Right.
We've got everything from a half-century of public tax history to 30-year climate risk projections from First Street. So our mission today is really to decode this property as an economic artifact.
An economic artifact. I love that.
Yeah, because when you know how to read between the lines of a seemingly standard real estate listing, it reveals this incredible story.
Oh, absolutely.
It tells us so much about extreme market economics, historical wealth accumulation, and honestly, the very surprising physical realities of high-end real estate right now.
Okay, so let's start with that physical reality, actually, because the sticker shock on this property is very, very real. The home is listed for $4,295,000.
Yep, almost $4.3 million.
Right, and, when you hear $4.3 million, your brain probably conjures up this sprawling, modern architectural marvel, right? Like floor-to-ceiling glass.
Smart home technology in every single room. Infinity pool.
Exactly. But the data shows us something completely different here. We are looking at a fairly modest single-story home that was built back in 1956.
1956?
Yeah. It's just a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath house sitting at 2,260 square feet.
Which means the asking price is just staggering. It breaks down to about $1,900 per square foot.
Wow.
Yeah, 1,900 square foot for a house constructed during the Eisenhower administration.
That is, I was trying to wrap my head around this valuation, and it kind of clicked for me like this. It's like buying a vintage mechanical watch.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right. Because you aren't paying for the literal ounces of steel and glass in the watch. You're paying for the invisible aura, the history, the scarcity. You're paying for the real estate on your wrist.
Exactly.
And in this case, you are definitely not paying for 2,260 square feet of mid-century drywall. You are paying for 1.05 acres of Woodside dirt.
Woodside dirt is premium dirt. And what's fascinating here is how the marketing copy in the data set actually proves your point perfectly.
How so?
Well, the listing language completely ignores the physical structure of the house. Like, it doesn't mention high-end appliances or smart features. It focuses entirely on the setting.
Oh, right. All the neighbor stuff.
Yeah, it highlights mature trees and dappled sunlight.
Dappled sunlight. You're paying for the dappled sunlight.
Right, meandering brick walkways, lush lawns. It is selling an ecosystem, not a house. And the data even includes a checked box for equestrian use.
Meaning you can have horses.
Exactly. You are legally allowed to keep horses on this specific lot, which is a huge deal.
Okay, so they are selling this pristine rural tranquility, but, and this is the crazy part, you are a 15-minute drive from the headquarters of the most powerful tech companies in the world.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable juxtaposition.
And let's not forget the school data, too. The listing explicitly flags that this lot sits within the Woodside Elementary School District.
Which is highly coveted.
Oh, yeah. It carries a perfect 10 out of 10 rating on great schools.
So that combination, right, the rural isolation, the elite public schools, and the immediate proximity to massive tech wealth, It creates a microeconomy.
Yeah, a total microeconomy.
The house itself is almost incidental. It just happens to be the structure that's currently sitting on a highly restricted, incredibly scarce piece of land.
Right. But that vintage 1956 charm isn't just, a cute aesthetic choice. It is actually the direct cause of the home's biggest physical liabilities today.
Oh, absolutely. The infrastructure is definitely showing its age.
Which brings us to the totally unglamorous reality of actually living in this oasis. Because if you are putting 20% down on this property,
Which is a lot of cash.
yeah, the Redfin calculator notes it's about $859,000 in cold hard cash. Your estimated monthly payment is going to hover around $26,000 to $27,000 a month.
$27,000 a month. Just let that sink in.
I know, and for $26,000 every single month, I expect absolute perfectly climate control perfection.
You would certainly assume so, but the infrastructure data paints a very, very different picture.
Right, because I am looking at the facts and features section right now. Heating, central forced air, okay, fine. Cooling. The data set explicitly says none. Zero air conditioning.
None at all.
And utilities. It has public water, sure, but the sewer is literally listed as a septic tank.
Yep. A septic tank in a $4.3 million home.
And then there's the roof. The construction details show a wood shake roof, and the permit history says it was installed back in October of 2000.
So that's a 26-year-old wood roof.
Yes, a 26-year-old wood roof. I have to push back on this whole idea of rural charm here. Isn't a 26-year-old wood roof in a California wooded area just a massive, completely uninsurable liability waiting to happen?
It is definitely a calculated risk, and we can clearly see that risk in the First Street climate data that's included in the listing.
Okay, what does the climate data say?
Well, the flood risk is a 1 out of 10, so very low.
Okay, that's good.
And the fire risk is surprisingly rated a 3 out of 10, which is moderate but manageable despite the wood roof.
Really? A 3 out of 10. Okay.
Yeah, but here's the catch. The air factor risk is a 7 out of 10. The projections show 12 unhealthy air days expected for this year alone.
Wow. Okay, let me just drive the irony of that home for a second. If you buy this house, you are sweating through a summer heat wave with no AC,
Right.
breathing in 12 days of highly unhealthy air, and just hoping your 1956 septic tank doesn't back up.
Yep.
All for the privilege of paying $26,000 a month.
I mean, are buyers actually accepting this trade-off, or are they just planning to bulldoze the house the second they get the keys?
Well, some might bulldoze, sure, but many actually accept the trade-off, and it's because of the zoning laws.
Really? Zoning
Mhm.
laws?
Yeah. If you look at the lot details, this property is zoned R1003A. R1003A. Okay, what does that mean?
That strict zoning is designed entirely to preserve the rural, equestrian feel of the town. So it severely limits new development, it restricts lot splitting, and it makes massive infrastructure overhauls incredibly difficult. You can't just easily rip up the local roads to install modern city sewer lines without destroying the very aesthetic that makes the land worth $4.3 million in the first place.
So preserving the vibe basically means preserving the mid-century plumbing.
Exactly. It forces a total redefinition of what luxury means at this echelon of wealth.
That makes sense.
Like, for you or me, luxury might mean a smart thermostat, perfectly sealed windows, and city sewer access.
Right, not having to think about a septic tank.
Exactly. But for the buyer of this property, luxury means space. It means having an acre of private land and a barn right in the middle of one of the most densely populated, high-tech regions on the planet.
So space absolutely trumps modern convenience.
100%. Space is the ultimate luxury.
Okay, well, if we are talking about extreme economics, we have to talk about the financial history hidden in this data set.
Oh, this is the best part.
Because to understand why this property is hitting the market right now in April 2026 with its 26-year-old wood roof and its septic tank, we have to look at its past.
Yes, we do.
So I dug into the public record section of the data, and this home last sold on March 11th, 1975.
1975, 51 years ago. The holding duration alone is a massive data point here.
51 years. And the price it sold for back in 1975, $118,000.
Wow.
That was just $52 per square foot back then. And today they are asking $4.3 million.
It's an astronomical return.
But wait, hold on. This is where the math in these public tax records actually made my head spin, and I really need you to explain this to me.
I'll do my best.
So I ran the Redfin calculator for a new buyer, right? And the property taxes alone for a new buyer would be over $4,000 every single month.
Right, based on the current asking price.
But look at the 2025 public tax history for the current owner. It says the property taxes for the entire year of 2025 were only $3,097.
Yep. $3,000 for the whole year.
My monthly tax bill as a new buyer would be higher than their entire annual tax bill. How is that legally possible?
It's a great question. And it happens because of a very specific structural mechanism in California's property tax system.
Okay.
And it's fully visible in the data set if you know where to look. So check the column labeled tax assessment in the history table.
Let me see. Okay, I'm looking at it.
Notice how in 2025, the county did not assess the value of this property at its market value of $4.3 million.
Oh, wow. It says they assessed it at just $283,567.
Exactly. So the county is taxing them as if they live in a $250,000 house.
That is wild.
And if you look at the growth of that assessment year over year, like check 2023, 2024, 2025.
Okay. Yeah, it goes up, but barely.
Right. The data shows it ticking up by exactly plus 2% annually. No more than that.
Just a 2% cap.
Yes. The system essentially decoupled their tax burden from the skyrocketing market value of Silicon Valley real estate.
Oh, I see.
Because they bought it in 1975, their assessed value was legally capped, growing by just a tiny fraction each year, totally, regardless of what the home could actually sell for on the open market.
It's basically rent control for billionaires.
It really functions that way, yeah.
I mean, while the actual market value of their home exploded from $118,000 to over $4 million, their property taxes were legally restrained to a slow crawl.
Exactly.
Think about your own monthly budget as a listener, Imagine if your housing costs were locked in at 1970s rates.
It's unimaginable today. But that mechanism creates an immense amount of what economists call financial holding power.
Financial holding power. Okay, explain that.
Well, when your overhead to keep an asset is only $3,000 a year, there's absolutely no financial pressure to sell during downturns.
Oh, right. You aren't getting squeezed by rising taxes.
Yeah. Exactly. You can weather any economic storm. You can just sit on the land. So what this data set shows us is a literal wealth transfer in action.
Wow.
The owners incubated this golden egg for 51 years, entirely shielded from the carrying costs that a new buyer would face, and now they're finally cashing it in.
That is just wild to see mapped out in the numbers like that.
It really is.
Okay, so we've established the quirks of this house. It's an expensive, aging time capsule sitting on highly coveted, heavily restricted dirt.
Yep.
And the sellers have held it for half a century. So the next logical question is, how is the 2026 market actually reacting to it?
Right. Let's look at the active metrics.
Because it's moving fast.
Yeah.
This property has only been active on Zillow for 4 days, and in just 96 hours, it has generated 1,627 views and 60 saves.
That's a lot of eyes on one house.
And over on Redfin, where it's been up for 6 days, it has over 1,000 views and 44 favorites.
For a property priced over $4 million, those are massive, highly concentrated engagement numbers in a very short window of time.
It really is. And what I find absolutely fascinating is watching the algorithms battle it out over what this property is actually worth.
Oh, the AVMs?
Yeah, the automated valuation models. We have 2 different algorithms competing in the data. Zillow's algorithm, the Zestimate, prices the home at $4,173,800.
Okay.
But Redfin's algorithm prices it significantly higher. It puts it at $4,356,072. That is nearly a $200,000 difference just between the 2 computer models.
It's a huge spread.
How do these algorithms get it so wrong, or I guess so entirely different from each other?
Well, it really comes down to how automated valuation models actually function. They rely heavily on comparable sales, or what we call comps.
Right, looking at similar houses nearby.
Exactly. So an algorithm looks at a recent sale on nearby Toyin Court for maybe $3.8 million, and another on Albion Avenue for $10.5 million.
That's a big jump.
Right. And it tries to calculate a median price per square foot based on bedroom count and lot size. But these algorithms start to break down and diverge wildly when dealing with ultra-luxury, low-inventory anomalies.
Because there aren't like 100 identical houses selling every month to average out the data.
Precisely. Every lot is entirely unique at this price point. Furthermore, an algorithm cannot quantify the emotional desperation of a human buyer.
Ooh, the emotional desperation.
Yeah. The local 94062 market insights provided in the Redfin data explicitly state that this zip code is a seller's market. Inventory is severely constrained.
So there's barely anything to buy.
Exactly. And the data shows that homes in this area average only 15 days on the market before going pending.
15 days. That is a lightning-fast turnaround for multi-million-dollar real estate.
It's incredibly fast.
So if I'm a buyer looking at this and I really want this house, The 4.29 million asking price isn't actually real, is it? It's really just the opening bid.
The historical data
Yeah.
definitely backs that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the marquee insights reveal that homes here typically sell for about 3% above the list price, and multiple offers are just the norm.
Wow.
When inventory is this low, human emotion will almost always override the computer's conservative estimate.
Right, because the computer doesn't care about the school district.
Exactly. A Zestimate cannot calculate the drive of a tech executive who absolutely must secure a spot in that 10 out of 10 school district and has the cash on hand to outbid the competition.
That makes total sense. So we started off this deep dive looking at a pretty basic listing, right? For a modest house with a pool and a barn.
Seems simple on the surface.
But by digging into the numbers, we've uncovered a 50-year time capsule of wealth holding power.
A literal half-century of data.
And we've seen the very real, literally sweaty trade-offs buyers make, choosing the exclusivity of space over modern amenities like air conditioning.
Space over AC every time.
And we've gotten a real-time look at how supply and demand economics operate when automated algorithms collide with high-stakes human emotion.
It really is a masterclass in how much systemic data is just hidden in plain sight, waiting to be read.
It's exactly why we do these deep dives. Whether you are actively house hunting or, you are just endlessly curious about how the world's economy functions, every single property listing is a trove of hidden data.
It really is.
It's not just a house, it's a puzzle piece. So the next time you're driving down the street and you pass a for sale sign, don't just pull out your phone to look at the photos of the newly staged living room.
Skip the photos.
Right, skip the photos. Take a second to look at the boring public tax history, look at the permits, check the climate data, because underneath the surface, there is always an iceberg waiting to be discovered.
If we pull back and look at the bigger picture, this data actually raises an incredibly important question for us about the systemic consequences of these mechanics.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, think about it. If property taxes legally lock people into their homes for 50 years, and strict zoning laws prevent any new housing from being built just to preserve that rural charm,
Right.
what happens to the local economy? I mean, the people who teach in that 10 out of 10 school district, or the firefighters who protect those wood-shake roofs. If the housing supply is this locked up and this expensive, where do they live?
Wow. That is a massive, incredibly complex ripple effect to think about.
It really is.
Because a neighborhood isn't just the people who own the dirt, it's the entire ecosystem required to keep it running.
Exactly.
Well, that is definitely something for you to chew on next time you're scrolling through those luxury listings online. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you on the next one.